Hey, it's me. What you told me? The guys with the five eyes that you see. And today we are going to be speaking about women's, or at least I'm not sure if I should say mean or most women's, but women and sex addiction and how I think that's an issue that's not being discussed properly, but how Kevin Samuels, the roommates, and Fresh and Fit actually kind of expose this behavior. So the gist of it is, a lot of people in the manosphere and as a whole, we talk about, you know, women only wanting to select men. We talk about women making a lot of incorrect choices in men, having a lot of babies, all these things, right? But one thing I don't understand how, like, what people are not discussing is if women are stuck making these horrible sexual decisions over and over and over and over again, the one thing I realize is this means these women have a sex addiction problem. And what do I mean by that? Well, you have to think about it, right? If you're constantly getting into bad relationships with guys and you're not even trying to, like, you're not even at least trying to change, like, maybe your approach, maybe see if you're selecting bad guys for the wrong reasons, trying to mess with guys maybe who are like I wouldn't say, well, sometimes finances have to do with it, but like, some girls don't mess with a guy because he looks really good, and it's like, okay, like, instead of thinking, okay, let me stop messing with guys based off of looks, let me know a guy for a little bit longer and see how he acts, or constantly just hooking up with guys instead of being like, you know what, um let me talk to this guy and, like, develop a friendship first, things like that, right? Or constantly having babies, like, that's the easiest indicator to me. you know no one ever really considers that if these women, like, if you basically, if you can't put the dick down, if you can't put the pussy down, you have an addiction problem. You have an addiction because you're constantly partaking in something that is negatively affecting you, and you cannot stop. You cannot stop yourself. You cannot stop yourself from dating. You cannot stop yourself from having children. You cannot stop yourself from letting dick take you away from your responsibilities, putting dick in front of, your friendships, your relationships, you know, and sometimes it doesn't also, like, have to be direct sex itself. Also, addiction to attention and everything. And people actually, when it comes to attention and all that, people tend to bring that up too, but they usually tend to bring that up in social media and stuff. And they don't ever really use the word. I mean, I guess in our cycles online, our forums, people use the word addiction more. But when I hear, mostly I see, like, the people on YouTube, big guys like Kevin and them, they don't. I really don't hear them use the word. And I think we need to start using addiction more, because that's clearly what these women are going through. So I'm going to show you guys two videos. One from when Kevin was on Fresh and Fit podcast, and another when Kevin was talking to a lady who has 4 kids, has not gotten her GED, got pregnant in the ninth grade, and that's her situation. And after we do a little bit of analysis on those videos, I'm going to, like, further describe how Kevin, the roommates, and Fresh and Fit are highlighting this. So we can look at this first. We're going to take a quick bit out of this video, and initially, what she says isn't really relating. I mean, they're talking about sex work, but it's not really directly to sex. But instead, I'm going to let you listen to how she talks, and I will describe how that mindset easily leads to sex addiction. Okay.
Instead of looking Hafiz in the face like he doesn't know what he's talking about when he runs a almost $1 million business. The guys on the podcast who are on the verge of running $1 million business, and another person who knows how to do it is run most of it. You're asking me questions to prove to you like I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't think you know what you're talking about regarding OnlyFans. That's for sure. Because
But I do know what I'm talking about as far as business and making money.
In regards to making money, money comes in waves, and we all have to understand that. And if we all invest successfully, we could.
Where are you investing? Where are you investing?
So people are.
Where are you investing?
Average.
Where are you investing?
That's none of your business.
It's a secret.
Declare
that. I accept what you just said, but you said money comes in waves. Granted, we have to invest. It's taken. Where are some of the places you're investing?
Yeah,
See, this is what this OnlyFans economy has done. It's let women with really low functioning knowledge, no high value or high ticket skills.
That's not low functioning knowledge.
Well, let's talk. Okay. Every time I've asked you any question about business, and you've asked me a question instead of answering it. And I said, and if it's not you, eat the meat, spit out the bones. But what OnlyFans has done is it's created a bubble economy. Women are rushing to OnlyFans thinking that it's the new .com, the new real estate, and they're realizing that there is no for over 5 years. Well, anyway, so
you can go to the club, but like we're not. You can't even get in.
But do you understand that?
Okay, so for some reason I thought she had the one important thing I wanted her to say, which she did, but I guess we just skipped over that, or maybe it was too early. When Kevin asked her like, "What are you invested in?" she literally was like, "It's none of your business," which is basically code word for I'm not invested in anything, or I'm invested in Dogecoin. But see, if you listen to the way she talked, like the mass generality that she gave, and just the airheadedness of her, especially this girl right here. This girl is an idiot. This girl is really observative. I'm gonna make up that word, but these two right here, you can tell by how they speak that they basically have the mindset of the now. They just do things as is. They don't really know how to plan, because that was also the gist of the whole video, because the guys are basically trying to let them know, listen, you could do OnlyFans the way you like it now, and it's going to be big money now, but by the nature of OnlyFans and by the nature of your work, which is predicated on you being young or just being good looking, it's going to end quicker for you than most careers. And also at the same time, your competition is massive, because women, that one movie I think Matthew McConaughey was in, he is like, I get older or something like that, but the girls, they stay the same, like basically if you look at women as a collective, they will forever be 18 because until people start reproducing and people start growing and everyone dies, you're basically going to have 18, 19, 20-year-olds rolling in every year. It's like the NBA, there's always new prospects and stuff. And basically these women just think everything's going to be the same forever and they could just keep doing what they're doing. And the guys are trying to let them know, like, no, you can't think like that. You really have to, if you're going to do your OnlyFans like this, have more of a business mindset, because if you don't, eventually when OnlyFans ends for you and it stops being profitable, you're shit out of luck. How this transitions into sex addiction is, see, the thing about addicts, right? Addicts are constantly worried about getting their fix, having it now. They're not really considering, actually a lot of times they will consider what the bad things that will happen, needing and necessitating getting their fix, but in general there's just a low level amount of thinking because they're addicted. And when you don't think about the future of your actions and how again, like the things that you're involved in, how eventually things have to end, like these girls, you can easily tell that they're the type that kind of get into relationships for the sake of it. Whenever the dude's just attractive, maybe he just got some money, throw some dollars at her, and they're just pretty. They don't really have to work on trying to get a guy to notice them. They just get noticed by guys and pick the biggest letter. Even if, I could be Bruce Wayne, a billionaire, very handsome and all that, with money, and they'll probably try to be forward with me, but they'll just do what they've always done to try to get a guy like me. They won't even consider, like, you know what? How about I actually cater to what he may like? And another thing too, they may get a guy like me, right? But then they won't actually act up and be the type of chick that I would want, because they're so used to guys putting them on a pedestal. They'll just still like, I'll be Bruce Wayne, and they'll make all the demands of me that they would have made the demands on anybody else. And that's low level thinking. That passes into sex addiction, because they will constantly get with guys, not think about the future, not think about how that guy is, not think about the time that they're wasting. And it'll be the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy, and the next guy. And to be quite frank, most of the kind of girls that do OnlyFans are the kind of girls with heavy body counts, reckless lives, and that's just what I believe. And I'm being really anecdotal with this, but hey, how can I not be anecdotal? Because most of the chicks that I know on OnlyFans have really fucked up social lives. Guys are constantly running through them. It's this guy, it's that guy, it's another guy. You know, and they're really with all these girls, they don't really have no kind of consideration for the future. They don't really have the kind of mindset it takes to be, I wouldn't necessarily be a better person, because they're good, kind people, but to, I'd say, be a more socially damn, the word, wow, whatever, the kind of person that improves themselves. Let's just keep it at that, right? And I know none of this is based in science. This is all just observations by me. So take what I say with a grain of salt, because clearly it's like, you know, you can't just be like, oh, you know, that girl, she has OnlyFans, she's a sex addict. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just thinking, just giving you my thought. Anyways, let's look at this next video. So this next video actually is actually about sex versus the other ones. Actually, the other one is still somewhat about sex because it's OnlyFans. And apparently, I think one of these girls be getting their back pulled out. But anyways, let's get back to this one. And I'm going to look for a specific bit on here where basically, as I told you, she got pregnant in 9th grade, dropped out of school, and at some point she was like starting to cry because she was, you know, just Kevin was just basically getting her to admit that she ain't shit. Okay.
Today. Listen, you're almost 30 years old, and I am struggling to hold a simple conversation. Did you graduate from high school? What was the highest grade you completed? Okay. So what are you doing to get your GED?
It's kind of crazy because this chick is acting like a kid, you know, and getting a GED is really not that hard or that simple. And she could have got it right after the first baby, but I don't know if I failed to mention she has 4 kids. Now check this out.
Social media, like, you know,
How are you addicted to social media if you don't have a full-time job?
I know, it's bad.
So who's providing for your children?
Me.
On whose money?
On my money.
But you don't work full-time.
I just get blessed to Kevin like this.
Blessed? Blessed?
She really do look like Godzilla, not going front.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That mean, like, you know, like through my struggles, I sit right there and
No.
And you know the worst part about this chick, I'm not even going front. This is when white people make jokes about black people. This was basically what they think, and that kind of gives the joke a bit of validity because there are black people that act like this. Like, looking at one of them. So basically, from a couple of minutes, seconds, you get what this chick is about. This chick can barely talk. Also, I'm pretty sure she's selling her ass, because it's like, you don't really have a job, but you still got money for stuff. For example, look at those tattoos on her. She probably got like a full sleeve, probably got more tattoos on other places on her body. Um, you gotta pay good. You gotta pay a lot of money for it, even if it's a shitty tattoo. That's a lot of tattoos, and that's a lengthy amount. Either she paying for it or someone else paying for it. But all I know is she is not getting all this money for free, and she has 4 children. She's probably selling her ass. But you got to think about it. You have one child, ninth grade, and then you have another. Then you have another. You still not, like, at least you can at least go get your GED before the next one. And that's also a reason why she really doesn't have like a job, like a basic full-time job just at a store anywhere. You know why? You need to have a high school diploma at most of these jobs. And I say most because there's some jobs where you can still be a high school and get the job. But even then, you being 30 or near 30, whatever age she's at, she's like 30 something. You being 30 without a GED, most jobs are probably just going to, they would much rather hire an illegal immigrant than you. Because it just, if you look at her demeanor and the way she talks, even places that want the diversity hire of a black woman, they ain't gonna stick with this. And of course, it's clear she has a sex addiction because she can't stop getting pregnant, which means she can't stop having sex. Um, and I don't think I watched this video earlier. I don't think she mentions if she has one baby daddy or if she's still with the. No, because she would have said the father would have helped her support the children. So I don't think she mentioned having how many baby daddies that she has. But in general, I mean, that's textbook sex addiction right there, because she can't stop having children. She can't stop having sex. She can't stop partaking in her lust, even if it's making her life worse. It's making the lives of her children worse. It's probably making the lives of some of the people around her worse. Maybe she's got like a baby daddy that she gets child support from, and she ain't shit. Maybe one of them wants to, or whoever he is wants to stay with the kids and support them, but she just like, give me this, give me that, get away from me, nigga, like, something like that. She is probably being forced, having to go out, sell her body to afford what she can in order to get money. Regardless, her inability to stop having sex has been making her life worse and worse and worse. And who knows if she's not even done yet, because she's still 30. She could still get around. She could still keep getting pregnant. It's ridiculous. Now, how does Kevin, the roommates, and Fresh and Fit, how do they really expose that these women have sex addictions? Even though you just saw it. Basically, not how, but the reason they do. The women that get on these guys' shows, it's like the constant thing that we all see with them. They have these requirements of what they want men to be and what they want men to do. And the common denominator I keep seeing is these chicks are almost all single. It doesn't matter if they're fat and ugly, skinny and fine, rich as hell, broke as hell. Literally all across the board, these chicks are perpetually single. Perpetually. And even if they got a dude, it usually doesn't last too long, or they're usually just broken up. And it don't even matter what the situation. These chicks will literally be able to do for 8 years, break up, call right into the show. And they're exposing that there's a really big issue with women and sexual addictions. Because like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, many of these women, they go from dudes to dudes, guys to guys. If you listen to how they talk, they've been making their lives worse. Or maybe in some cases, like they're successful on OnlyFans and Instagram modeling. They raised the profile of their lives, right? But when it comes to men, they're a complete wreck. They're a complete disaster. They're making themselves depressed. They're also making themselves extremely angry, focusing on how other men don't like them. When it's like, but I thought, their opinion doesn't matter. Why do you get so pressed when men say that we want you to cook and clean, yada yada, that kind of stuff, right? So even if they improve their lives, when it comes to men, they just do the same thing and they get what they've always got. And that's the thing about addiction. Addiction is literally insanity. Like, they can't put the dick down. And this needs to be something it's something that has to be addressed more, in my opinion, because that's how we are in this situation. I know for the black community, where out of wedlocks, like birth rate being like 80%, one out of every four black women's ever gonna get married. And then this is why the 80-20 rule is also so prevalent in the manosphere, because it truly just feels like most dudes aren't getting girls and most girls just want a really small amount of dudes and everything like that. These issues are spanning from sexual addiction, and we like to highlight how women are doing. Like, we highlight all the wrong things they're doing. That's what these shows highlight. But the sexual addiction is something that gets exposed, but I don't think right now there's I don't think it's being defined in a way where people are paying attention. People know it's there, but people don't really realize, yo, these chicks are addicted. They have an addiction and it's slowly killing everybody. But people generally tend to describe it in most ways. As you see on the show, you know, Kevin, he exposes all the time. A lot of the women, they want high value men, but they never make themselves high value, which is also the definition of insanity. But yeah, I just kind of, this isn't much like a rant or anything like that. Just me expressing just a thought that I had about these guys. And I'm going to do another video later this week. I think I might get more in depth with it. I think I'm going to find more examples. But I actually think, in closing, that this was the best example. I basically used this video to kind of express the mindset that a lot of these people, when they get like these sexually addicted women have. And this video expresses, like, it actually shows it's an actual real life example. And in closing, I really want to get back to this one for the black community, because black women are heavily sexually addicted. That I think black women truly are some of the most sexually addicted people in this country. They might be the most sexually addicted people in this country. Because you really got to think about it like this, right? Our out of wedlock birth rate is 80%. And I think like somewhere around like, for anywhere from 60 to 70% of the black women that are pregnant or like mothers are so without being married. And I think for black men, only like I think over half of black men don't have children, and over like 60 to 70% of black women do have children, and again, like, had children and also aren't married. But I think only 40% of black men with children aren't married. So most black men, so it's crazy. Basically, most black men don't have kids, but most black men that do have kids are married. Whereas most black women have kids, and most black women that have kids aren't married. So black men are basically the opposite of black women in the society. And it's crazy how a lot of feminists like to be like, why is it so accepted for a man to have sex, and if he has a lot of sex, it's like, oh, you're the man and everything. But it's like, if you look at the black community, we don't even have that much sex. And like a lot of dudes was pointing out, when a man has sex, it's because he actually has to work for it. That's the only reason people overrate it for us. And when a woman doesn't have to work for it, and that's why you get labeled a whore and stuff, because it's just too easy for you. That's why you get called easy. But again, most black men aren't even having sex out there like that. It's the black women. And it's clearly these women are sexually addicted, because it makes no sense why most of you guys are pregnant. Most of you guys aren't even married. But on our side, the black men's side, most of us don't have kids, but when we do have kids, most of the time we are married. Because then you'd also have to think, okay, that means most black women aren't getting married. Most black men aren't married. But when we do get married, for the most part, we're only marrying a small percentage of black women. You know, not necessarily saying we marry out, because for the most part we don't. Black men 80% of the time are married to a black woman. But it's like it's almost like a reverse 80-20 if you think about it. Like, how am I supposed to put this together? Black men are basically marrying about 30% of the women out there. And most of us aren't married. So it's almost like 80% of the men are aiming for like 20% of the women or something. I don't know. But it's a problem that needs to be addressed, because if it doesn't, well, our cycle of poverty is only going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, because the women and men keep having sex. The small percentage of men are going to keep constantly getting a high percentage of women pregnant. They're going to have more kids. So they're going to have the girls, they're going to have girls that are going to grow up, get pregnant. And they're going to have boys that are going to grow up and get these girls pregnant. And it's only going to get, and you know how populations work, right? Like, when a species can reproduce constantly and freely, usually that species tends to increase their numbers during these like generational cycles. So you got one generation. Generation 2 generally tends to be more Generation 1. Generation 3 generally tends to be more Generation 2. So, it's only going to be more and more poor, sexually addicted black folks out there. And sometimes I wonder, I don't really think we can stop this. Because if you really think about it, you really can't tell many of these women nothing. And a lot of these guys, they get raised by these women in the first place. So if you can't tell the women nothing and they're raising the dudes, you ain't going to be able to tell most of the dudes nothing either. These black people are stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I don't know. I'm just a kid. Either way, thank you for listening to this video. Hopefully next time I talk about something a bit more. I was just ranting for this one. See you guys later.